Hello my Banda crew and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be discussing all of the prehistoric versions of Crash Bandicoot that we've come across throughout the Crash Bandicoot series. There's not just one or two, there's a handful of different prehistoric versions of Crash Bandicoot. If this is your first time coming to the channel, I release Crash Bandicoot content every weekend. We discuss lore, theories, news, we do interviews, tier lists. I also have a Crash Bandicoot podcast that I'm working on. A couple episodes should be out already. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, maybe consider subscribing. Throughout the Crash Bandicoot franchise, Crash travels to different dimensions, planets, and time periods, and one of the ones that he goes to the most is ancient prehistoric times where dinosaurs roam. And each time he goes there, we see different versions of prehistoric Bandicoots, or prehistoric Crash. So, we're going to start off with Crash Bandicoot Warped, where Crash goes back in time and encounters the first prehistoric Bandicoot. So, in Crash Warped, there don't appear to be any mammals in the prehistoric times. There's just dinosaurs. So the only Bandicoot-like creature that we come across is actually this fish that spins at us. I call it the Bandy fish. I'm not sure if there's an official name for the Bandy fish. It might be a fishacoot. But like I said, I call him the Bandy fish. That might be its name. Point being is, it is a fish that has the same color scheme as Crash, it has the same goofy eyebrows, and it spins. So while this is not a Bandicoot, this is supposed to be a prehistoric version of a Bandicoot that we encounter. This next prehistoric Bandicoot we see looks to be a Sabertooth tiger, or just a Sabertooth Bandicoot character. This is actually a skin that you unlock in Crash Tag Team Racing. So this isn't the genuine article, this is just Crash wearing a skin of it. And the reason I say it like that is because in Crash Tag Team Racing, you do see another version of this character, but scale-wise it is much, much larger. So while Crash has the skin of this, it doesn't increase his size, it just shows us a more close-up version of the other prehistoric Bandicoot that we see, and let me show you that now. So while you're driving in Tyrannosaurus Rex, you will pass a sheet of ice that has this gigantic prehistoric Bandicoot, and it has the same saber teeth, it has the same missing flat tooth right there, the same strap over for its clothing, and the same crazy hair. So this is what the skin was modeled after. But as you can see, it's much, much larger. So this version of the prehistoric Bandicoot is huge. It's dinosaur size itself. So unlike Crash being 5 feet tall, this one is probably easily 20 feet tall. Since we were talking about a skin, I'm going to go into the next one. This one is from Crash Bandicoot 4, and its name is Marsupus erectus. So very similar to how we saw the Sabertooth Crash, and then we saw a giant version of it. I believe the same is true for this version. This is a skin for Crash, so it is Crash size, and we could see it all in its, we could see all its details. It has the bone in the nose, it has a pierced ear, and it's pretty fantastic looking. I think this is my favorite prehistoric Crash. It has its beard and all that. But then we actually see the larger version of this character and how tall it actually is. In Crash Bandicoot, in Crash Team Rumble, the new minigame Dig It, you collect its bones. And as you can see here, Cortex, being almost the same size as Crash, only comes up to the Cavacoot, as they call it in this game. It's no longer Marsupus erectus. It is the Cavacoot. Cortex only goes up to his knees. And just in case you were thinking this was a different version of the prehistoric Crash, I'll show you what he looks like in the flesh. upon completing the challenge, you get an icon showing you what the creature would have looked like before it got fossilized. And this is the Crash Cavecoot, who looks almost exactly the same as Marsupus erectus. The only difference is it doesn't have the nose pierced, and we can't tell if its ear was pierced, but in replace of that bone jewelry, he has a bone necklace. So that's two versions of prehistoric bandicoots that are actually much, much larger than their skin makes them appear to be. This next one isn't Crash, but it is a bandicoot. And if you go on the track Prehistoric Playground on Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, you will see a handful of different fake Crash cave crashes. So this is a different offshoot of the prehistoric crashes, because this one, in my opinion, does not exist in prehistory, but rather it is fake Crash going back in time and adapting to his surroundings and making himself clothes and stuff with what is available to him. So yes, this is a prehistoric fake Crash, but it's not in the same sense as a prehistoric version of Crash. It's rather a modern version of a character traveling back in time and adapting to his surroundings. So these are they all look the same, so it's a bunch of fake Crashes living in prehistory. These last two, again, are skins, and these are the only ones that do not have larger versions to represent the actual size of them. But this one looks to be a combination of the fake Crash, the Marsupus erectus, and the tag team version of the Cave Crash. It has very, very small, but it has the pointy teeth like the Saber Bandicoot. Then it has the same bone hair tie like the fake Crashes, and the clothes are very similar to Marsupus erectus. So this is the most recent version of a prehistoric Bandicoot. So it seems like they tried to mix them all together, minus the Bandifish, of course. And there was two versions of this one. This one was, I don't remember if they called it Pride or Rainbow, but it was released in February. I believe it was released in February. Forgive me, it's June, not February. February is Valentine's Day. June is when this was released. So it was when Activision was pandering to the LGBTQ, because it didn't really... The only thing they did, they made some rainbow versions of the other skins, but that's the only thing that makes this one different. I wouldn't say in continuity that the prehistoric Crash got different berries to change his fur color or anything, because if anything, that would make him stand out more and he'd get attacked by dinosaurs. But that's thinking way too deep into continuity. They clearly weren't thinking of that. They were just releasing rainbow skins. But yeah, that's the last version of a prehistoric Bandicoot. So you have that one and you have the normal one. I say normal, but you know what I mean. The standard colors and then the rainbow colors. But there is one more prehistoric Crash Lake character that I wanted to share. It's not a Bandicoot, but we started this video with a fish, so we might as well end this video with something that's not a marsupial. I don't know if you guys would like to count this as a prehistoric Crash. It's clearly a Triceratops, but it has Crash's ears, and it is bipedal like him. But unlike Crash Bandicoot Warped, when you go back in time and you see a fish that has Crash-like characteristics, this to me just looks more like an anthropomorphic Triceratops more than it would be a prehistoric version of Crash. Not all the skins have canon like consequences to them. No, I meant concurrence. Like, just because some of the skins bleed into the story and lore doesn't mean that all the skins will. So the fact that this Triceratops has Crash ears I guess it doesn't necessarily mean that this is what a prehistoric Bandicoot would look like. It's just Triceratops. So when you get down to it, the Marsupus erectus is from the Egopus dimension. So he could technically exist as a prehistoric version of a Bandicoot in that dimension. Because every dimension that we visited does show some sort of similarity to our other dimensions. Like if you go to the snacks dimension, there is signs for dingo, like Dingodile. Our Dingodile doesn't live there, nor does he have restaurants there, but in that dimension, there is a Dingodile who has restaurants. So in the Egopus dimension, there are prehistoric bandicoots, and that is what the Marsupus erectus looks like. Then you have the Bandyfish, which I believe is the genuine article. That is the prehistoric version of a Bandicoot, is the Bandyfish. He will eventually grow into a mammal, become a Bandicoot, and then that Bandicoot species will birth Crash, and then Crash will be captured and put through the Evolve Array and turn into the Bandicoot we know and love. Then we have the ones in the background here. I don't think Crash on the Run really put any thought into them except for, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a new Crash skin? And they had a dinosaur-themed level Dynamite, so they made those as a skin. And then the one on the far right, it could be argued that none of it is real, even though there is a skin, the Sabertooth Crash skin. It is, at the end of the day, a theme park. So that big, gigantic Bandicoot that's behind the sheet of ice could just be a statue, and then Crash's skin is a skin of that statue. So really, out of all of the prehistoric Bandicoots that we have seen in this video, only 2 of them would go into the continuity of the series. The Bandifish being the actual prehistoric version of a Bandicoot, and then the Marsupus erectus being the prehistoric versions of Bandicoots in the Egopus dimension. If you guys made it all the way to the end of this video, listening to all my rambling about prehistoric Bandicoots, you're legends. I enjoy your company, and I'm glad you're here. That is the end of the video, my friends. We will see you next week. Take care.